Welcome to Bite Size Dental Marketing. Today I have Miranda Beeson. Miranda is the Director of Education and lead practice coach. And every time Andre, Katie, all the crew, we go up to Milwaukee, I learn so much from the presentations and the curriculum that's put together, helping dentists become better CEOs, helping them, manage their team better and the culture aspects ACT brings. We absolutely have a company crush on you guys. And I would love to hear about your journey in how you got started to ACT. Did you, is there a video out there that you had to send them? Can I get it? Tell me the journey to get started. What brought you to ACT?
Well, thank you for that. First of all, thank you. I'm glad to be here. We love working with Pain Free as well. Several clients myself as a lead practice coach who've worked through the process and are working through the process currently and seeing great results. So appreciate being here. And we have a crush on you too. So it's reciprocated. So I started in dentistry a long, long time ago in my teen years. My uncle was my dentist growing up, and he and my aunt really encouraged me to get into dentistry, dental hygiene specifically, just seeing what it could be as a balance for a career with wanting to be a mom, wanting to have a family, but still do something in the workforce. And healthcare has always been intriguing to me. I always say being helpful is one of my favorite things to be. And when you're a dental hygienist, you get to be that all day long, every day. So I did clinical hygiene for chairside about 14, 15 years, and then transitioned after I had some ergonomic challenges, repetitive stress injury, common plague of the dental hygienist. And so I transitioned into the front office and worked in pretty much every position aside from being a truly dedicated insurance coordinator. I worked with someone who was exceptional at that and allowed her to be so. I really enjoyed the patient interaction side more. So a lot of the aspects of the practice that engaged in patient communication and treatment presentation, and eventually migrating into a practice administration role. And did that for a multi-location, multi-doctor practice here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I live. And on the side at the time, we did a lot of dentistry in that practice. When they still do. I'm still a patient there. Implant dentistry and especially all on X type care. So I really dug into learning as much as I could about that world. And through learning, I learned that there's not that many people teaching about it. And so I spent some time on the side teaching and lecturing and working with another group, providing some certification programs around implant maintenance and implant presentation. And that's how I first met ACT. Now, I have followed ACT myself as a clinician. I'm trying to think of the year. So my youngest daughter wasn't even born yet, and she's about to turn 12. So maybe 15 years ago, I was working in a practice and we had morning huddles, and the last minute was a motivation minute. And often the doctor would play the little videos from Kirk, this crazy, energetic guy named Kirk, who I had never known before. And so all the way back then, I started following Kirk, getting newsletters and listening to podcasts and whatnot as everything came out. So when the time came that they asked me to be a part of the masterclass series and present on implant treatment presentation, I was like, yes, absolutely. And just working with that crew, Christina and Kirk, and getting to know Barrett and then eventually the team. When I decided I'd like to transition out into helping more people, because again, being helpful is one of my favorite things to be, I thought if I went out and became a coach, I could work with more and more teams to do what I've done within this team here in Virginia Beach and really elevating the patient experience and developing and leading people to be better. And so my core values align perfectly with ACT. And yes, I did have to submit a video. Part of the application process is you have to submit a 2-minute or less video explaining why you would be a good coach with ACT. And so that was hard to do for me in just 2 minutes or less because I like to talk. But I remember doing it on my back deck. It was a beautiful sunny day. And I thought, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to shake this up. Like, you got to do something memorable. So I went out on my back deck and told them why I thought I'd like to work there and why I felt like they would want me to work there. And apparently we all agreed.
That's such a good hiring little nugget to do. Send a video. It puts just a little bit of barrier where you got to want it. And it gives you just such a broader insight into the person, just even the 2-minute video. It's a really good nugget.
It's a little hurdle they have to jump through. I like that.
Mhm.
When I was in practice administration, we would do a survey, like a cultural survey, and it was like, don't send me your resume. The ad says, don't send your resume, don't call the office, go to this link. And if you didn't fill out the survey and just sent me your resume, like you're automatically kind of like, you didn't really follow directions. You didn't do that one extra thing. And if you weren't willing to do a 5-question survey, that tells you a lot about an applicant. So yeah, just a little something.
We have a similar one. We do turn on the easy apply buttons because we do, but we don't pay attention to them if they don't send us an email with 3 questions.
That's part of your request, part of your.
Yeah, it says in our job postings, it's very clear, and we don't hide it. I mean, it's actually kind of boxed in. Details matter to us.
Yep.
It says details matter to us. When submitting your application, send us an email to this email address with the 3 questions, answers to 3 questions, and it's like, what are you most proud of? Again, they're not hard questions,
right?
It's
just a matter of like, did they see it?
Did you read it?
Will they do it?
Did you read it? Did you do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've deviated a few times from those, and it has always cost me something. And someday I'm going to learn to not implement these good guidelines and then not follow them. But I've yet to master that.
Well, you're not the only one. Again, I work with dental teams, and we talk about that, right? Like, you have a proven process, and every time it seems like when we stray from that proven process, right? So
every time, I mean, from answering calls to staffing the team in the front to all the things, there's just most of my problems in my life, I chose them by not following process. Yes, we've been up to Milwaukee to the top study club. 3 or 4 times now, and I know you've recently been promoted to the director of education. Walk me through how you balance. You have all of these doctors in all stages of their lives, and you have, on one spectrum, and on the other spectrum, you have, where they are in their journey with ACT, whether it's the first meeting or the 15th meeting. How do you balance the content needs on such a broad scope across all those dimensions?
Well, I'd like to first say, I hope I balance it. We do a lot of surveys and survey engagement, right, to get feedback. You're right. It's a challenge to have a room full of 60 doctors, and some are, I just bought a practice, I'm brand new. Some are approaching retirement and decided to join the study club or go into pro coaching to have a plan for their succession strategy. So yes, the people in the room are in a wide variety of the timeline in terms of their professional career, and then even within their ACT engagement, right? We might have someone who's at the study club for the very first time because they just joined pro coaching or joined our study club community. And we have people coming back year 8. So if they're coming every quarter for 8 years, what's left to tell, right? So it's definitely a juggle. And I think what's nice, and I think about my own self and being a hygienist for over 20 years, I still get little nuggets when I go to dental hygiene networking programs, right? When I go to ADHA, when I go to RDH Under One Roof, and I sit in those classrooms, a lot of it, I think I could have taught this one. But then there was this one little thing, or it's the way it was presented is from a different perspective. And so part of my role is, how do we manage making sure that the people that are new to dentistry, the people that are new to our ACT community, are getting the foundational pieces that are so important to success in the program and success in their practice, and delivering it in a way that also sounds or feels fresh to somebody who's been there many times. And then there's this component of, there's always new ideas spawn for me all of the time. That's why I love talking to people like you and other industries, other people within the dental profession, listening to webinars. I love webinars, podcasts, because when you hear reading books, we were just talking about Radical Candor in the pre-show. Books are my favorite. You can pull, and I hear something and it's from this world that has nothing to do with dentistry whatsoever, but you're like, that would make sense here for our dentists in our community. And so we're always trying to marry how do we revive the foundational pieces that have to be there, to make sure that our new doctors are receiving the information they need in a way that doesn't feel stale to the people that have been here for a really long time. And then bringing new things to help keep people thinking differently and challenging their level of thinking over the years. So it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
There you go. When you mentioned your journey through CE, I think of my own. I mean, I've been in, Andre and I were in technology before, we started this company. And I remember going places and, you're right. 80% of content was the same, but there was always those nice nuggets that you would take away. And I read somewhere, it was someone, Simon Sinek or someone, out there smart said, if you can implement one thing after going to a conference or reading a book, you're better than 95% of the population. And I think through that sometimes, and it just takes a minute for things to soak in. And culture was one. I think when I was younger, I wanted to go to work, do my job. I didn't care if I was, curing cancer or building widgets. My job was my job. And at some point I really didn't care. And as I got older, I really did become enamored with good culture. And I was fortunate enough to work in a place with good culture and bad culture. But then when those culture talks started happening, they started hitting me a little different. And now as I get older, the processes and consistencies and the things we talk about, those hit different now because I'm just at a different phase. But I've always enjoyed the programs that you guys put on, and every time I go, my notebook just comes back with the main things. And it even changes how we talk to our clients from what you guys talk about. And I loved it. I think you do a phenomenal job.
Thanks. Well, and our clients are in different places. You were just mentioning where you're at in your life now versus maybe where you were 10 years ago. You might have gone to a CE back then that meant nothing. And now it would be like, yes, right to the heart. And that's how our clients are. Like maybe, I have a client down in Georgia and he was coming for several TTT sessions and saying, I would tell him, don't you tell anyone that you have a full, amazing team and you're not hiring right now because everyone in the room is hiring right now and they're going to give you the stink eye. And so he didn't really need our session on hiring and onboarding and unique employment proposition. He came, I'm sure he got little nuggets out of it, but now here he is and he is hiring, right? He has someone who's on maternity leave who's not going to be coming back. He had a dental assistant who's moving. And so he's going to have to replace two. He's hiring two people now. And so now something like that is going to resonate with him in a way that maybe it didn't last year. I think one of the biggest things that our clients tell us about the experience is, like you just said too, if you take one thing away, then good for you. Our clients that are in the coaching program specifically who attend the top sessions and really engage in that platform of the study club and our BPA community, our online community, when they're really engaged, their success is much higher than the doctors who don't attend or engage, even virtually, in some of those sessions. There's always something to come from it. And the biggest thing too is everybody feels really good when you leave. The networking, the being able to talk to each other, and it's not always what they're learning from Kirk or Barrett or myself at the front of the room. It's also what they're learning from each other during the downtime, during the breakout sessions. So some of that weight is carried from the community as well, and learning and sharing together, not just the material that we're presenting.
It's lonely. I mean, to be a dentist, a private dentist specifically with no real peer in practice. It sounds good on paper. And again, I think that's the young me wanted to be the boss all the time. And now I don't always want to. Not too long ago, we had to let go of a really popular employee. And I mean, it just scared me. Like it was petrified because they got along with everyone and everyone liked them. And but they no longer fit our values anymore. And my God, that's so scary because it's not like they didn't produce anything, and it's lonely. And finding your people is an underrated superpower, as in dental as well, because it's tough. You mentioned the offices that do better. We're actually going through a little bit of a project right now. I have to stop using filler words, by the way, so I said a little bit. We're going through a project right now where we're looking at the commonality of our portfolio that performs really well and our portfolio that is underperforming what we would expect of them. And it's going to be no surprise to you, but the commonality is those who have consistent coaching and speak well of their teams are doing significantly better than those who do not have coaching and don't speak well of the teams or are constantly turning over team members and things like that. And because just like you guys, we want to maintain clients and relationships for the long term. I don't care about a year engagement to me. Truthfully, the year, I don't know that I break even on an account. But so, I mean, there's a monetary side, but there's also, I want longer relationships in my life. And we're seeing a direct correlation between coaching and being positive around your team with improved practice success. So I can imagine you see it wildly at your level.
Absolutely. So you mentioned lonely, because it does start there. When you're a solo provider, doctor owner, and you have a small team, maybe 5 team members, you don't have an office manager, like it really is you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the value of having a coach to bounce ideas off of, to vent when you need to corroborate on strategy. And then if you tie that into maybe they're working with Pain Free or a marketing platform, having the accountability, that's really a lot of what we do with our solo doctor practices, is to be that accountability partner to say, where are you on this? Have you provided that feedback to your team member? How can I support you in doing something like that? And you become a really instrumental piece of support that person otherwise is kind of on an island. It's different when you have a team that maybe is around 10 or 12 people and you have a solo doctor owner and they have an office manager, and they've started to shift a lot of responsibility to that office manager or that administrator, but who leads the team? And starting to keep alignment there around systems, around processes, around culture. And then if you bring in the mix of they're working on marketing and they have tasks, objectives, systems, a communication strategy that they're trying to develop, now we're coaching and working with those two as a leadership team to make sure there's alignment and execution and accountability, and helping to encourage that doctor to not give up all of that leadership, because you're like, oh my gosh, I've been so tired of leading this by myself and I finally have this person, but we can't just hand it over. And how do we keep that balance? And then there's the bigger picture, which is I love big teams because I worked in big teams a lot, and in my own experience, multiple partner doctor owners, 2 owner partners or 3 or more, and they have administrative or even team leads. And that becomes a lot more complex into how you roll out the systems, how you form accountability through the processes, and making sure that there's a shared level of motivation and inspiration. And the biggest thing that starts to fail with that communication breakdown, which then impacts how someone picks up the phone and are they doing it in the way that we would hope that they are. It seems crazy, but it goes all the way back to all of those people really know what our values are and what our vision and mission and purpose is here. Do we all know it? And everyone sitting in every seat here believe in that? And that how I pick up the phone actually does impact if we're going to get there. Because it feels so small and tedious, right? You pick up the phone hundreds of times a day, but every single time you do it, you're either building the brand or breaking down the brand.
That's right.
But if you don't have the alignment from the top to make sure your team knows and is inspired to support that, and if they don't respect you or if they don't feel valued and they are just showing up and punching a clock, you're not going to get the outcome that you want, on the other end of the phone. So it's complex for sure.
It is. And it's the hardest thing we do, because I'm guilty for many years being aspirationally, that's the culture I wanted, but I wasn't being true to the culture. I did want to come to work and just go home. I wasn't, how much money I made was probably the biggest indicator of my success or not. And I'm not saying money's not important, but there's 2 books that I think changed with the most power. I'll say there are many books that I think changed me, but these 2 books come to mind. But one was It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work by the folks who built Basecamp.
Okay.
And they just changed my paradigm on how I planned for the year and how Andre and I run the agency. And it had to do with this concept of like, it's great to set a goal of, we were going to be a $15 million agency or whatever revenue number that you can make up. But really you should align your goals to around what are the behaviors that $15 million companies do. I should begin to behave in a manner that I'm already at a $2 million practice, or I'm already at a something like that. And the math will come if the behaviors are there. And that changed how I view our planning and how we plan our time and how we set our goals. And, like one of them was for us, we wanted to grow our business a few years ago. And we said, well, okay, so we need 28 new clients a quarter or whatever number. Well, but I just can't shake my head and get 28 new clients. Like I have to have an industry voice. So that became one. And then I have to have a sales cycle that doesn't let people drop through. And that became one. And we had to start focusing on that. And as you talk, that to me is what the To the Top Study Club represents so well. It's not only you're being exposed to people who are already there, but you're putting the systems in place to get you to more success and more take home and things like that. And I think that's the magic, is finding your people and finding the systems and being as true to your core principles as you can be. And I think the money comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard Kirk, you've met Kirk, Kirk. And this is why I love being with ACT and why I feel like it's the right place is it's core values first, and knowing, I shared with you earlier, one of my core values is know your truth here in my house. We have family core values, right? Family first, know your truth. And so core values drive everything. They're the filter that literally every decision rolls through. And if you get the right people in the right seats who also believe in those core values and have the capacity to do what needs to be done, and then you have really well executed and defined systems that are living and breathing, right? They're never done. And now we have the right people working the right systems and then doing so consistently. Like it's just a recipe for success. And it all starts though with kind of what a lot of teams that I work with just go like, that's fluffy. When are we going to get down to like really working? And I'm like, I know it feels like it's 6 months in and we haven't accomplished anything on a checklist that we don't have this yet, that one thing you were thinking you needed. But I'm telling you right now, we could do that. And it's not going to be successful if we don't start here.
Right.
And I have a team that I'm working with. They're actually just going into their 3rd year of coaching. And that's what they talk about now is like, I get it now. Like I get it going into year 3 that like, holy cow, our culture is ridiculously amazing. Like didn't know we needed to work on culture really, because we had an awesome team. But now where we are is exceptional. And it all comes back to like, we're the most aligned we've ever been around who we want to be and what we want to be. They just went fully fee for service, and it's a large practice. They have 4 doctor providers. That's hard to do when you're that big of a practice to go completely fee for service. And but they've done so because they've differentiated themselves, right? They, like you were saying, like you have to know your identity, what sets you apart. How can I make sure that the community knows that about me? How can I make sure my team believes it so that when people walk through the door, right, they can share that message as well. And what we're saying to the public is actually what shows up when they're here. But it all starts with that foundation.
Miranda, such a great place to wrap up the episode. That was so well said.
Awesome.
I mean, thank you for your time. And gosh, I think Katie and a small crew of us are going up there in a couple of weeks. And then I think we're back to back in the 1st and 2nd weeks of August. So we're excited. Yeah, I'm going to Milwaukee in the summer. I'm going to see if that's better than Dallas.
Well, I'll tell you that Milwaukee in the summer, as much as I love my ACT team, is the only time I want to be in Milwaukee because it's really cold and pretty snowy the rest of the year.
That's right. Well,
from somebody who lives in the South.
Yeah. Well,
hop on a riverboat. You'll love it.
There you go. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm going to let you get on with creating some great content.
Thanks so much. This was fun. I appreciate you having me.